Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to be sharing a flip through of my completed Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Doha travel album. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, you guys, I finished this album. This took me so long, so much longer than I thought it would. And a lot of that is because I was just having a lot of fun with the pages and I didn't use a full formula. If you use a full formula, things will be quicker. I did a partial formula and I'll talk about that as I flip through the album. But I do have full process videos of how this album came together. I believe there are 4 of them and they are in a series on my YouTube channel. So if you are interested in seeing how this album came together, go check out that playlist. I will list it down in the description box below. So the album itself, I decorated as part of that first process video, but this was a plain white chipboard album and I just added some stamped words on here. This is using a stamp set from Ali Edwards and stays on black ink. On the side here, I did just recently add this. These are some stickers from Everyday Explorers and Ali Edwards to add the month and year that we went. You can see the stamping didn't work perfectly around here because I didn't want to remove this. I don't think I would have been able to get it back on, but otherwise I stamped the front and the back cover and I think it came out amazing. I'm super happy with it. There was some like stray ink marks on the inside. I originally thought, oh, maybe I'll cover this with paper, but honestly, I just want to be done with this album. I'm okay with there being a few marks. It's fine. I'm still super happy with how this came out. So this was documenting a vacation we went on in February 2025 to Doha in Qatar, and then Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. I have some travel and document with me videos for all of these destinations if you want to see more about my experience there and how I journaled while I was on this vacation. I will link those in the description box below. I did carry my Hobonichi cousin with me on vacation and journal as I went. And then once I got home, I documented these in Project Life pretty soon after. And then I put this together. I want to say it's been like 3 or 4 months. So this is pretty quick turnaround for me to do a travel album. I still have some older trips I haven't done. I just wanted to get this one done for whatever reason. So I started with this opening title page. A lot of my products are from Ali Edwards. I also have an older collection from Pink Fresh Studio by Geraldine C. from In a Creative Bubble. I believe it was from like 2019. So it's not available anymore, but a lot of the products are from that release or from Ali Edwards. And I used a lot from her 2022 travel collection. This page was inspired by Morgan Beale. A lot of my travel album spreads are inspired by Morgan Beale. If you don't follow her, highly recommend. Her travel albums are gorgeous. But I had this photo I took from the plane, and I don't even remember if this was on the way there, but I just loved how I feel like this is like the best plane photo I've ever gotten. So I thought it would make sense as an opening page. So I spent a lot in the beginning of the album kind of setting up the album, which took a lot of time. And I think you'll see as I flip through it that I kind of was like just ready to be done towards the end. I feel like I still did it justice and I'm happy with how it came out, but I definitely spent a lot of time up front on some of these other spreads. So I made this spread going through our itinerary and I put little geotags on the map here of the 3 locations we went. This is a map of the Middle East that I just took from Google Maps. I screenshotted it and then I adjusted the colors to kind of match my album. And then I added all of this on in Photoshop. And then I decided to document all of the travel portion up front rather than doing it throughout the album. So here I journaled about the trip there. And so we flew from Boston to Doha, which is a 11-hour, 30-minute flight, which was the longest flight I'd ever been on at that point in time. I will be going on some longer ones soon, but it was a very long flight. And so I just kind of journaled about that experience. And then I added this pocket here with a bunch of things inside. I'm going to pull them all out. So first I had my boarding pass for one of the flights. Actually, I have 2 of my boarding passes, and I just adhere them back to back. Usually you don't get physical boarding passes, but sometimes when you are not in the United States, they do still print these like more solid ones. If you get them like in the United States, you get like the cheap printout ones that are like receipts. But whenever I get one of these like nice ones, I'm super thrilled and I keep it for in my album. Next, I had this tag and I added a photo of my Starbucks with the Ramadan cup because it was Ramadan or starting Ramadan right before we were coming home. Just a tip if you are planning a trip to go to Doha or Dubai like I did, I recommend checking when Ramadan is and not going during Ramadan because they are going to have a lot of stricter rules and there's not going to be a lot of things open because it is a very religious holiday. And it lasts for a month and it's very, especially in Qatar, it's very respected. And most of the people there are practicing Muslim. So I purposely planned to go when it wasn't Ramadan. But you also want to go in the winter because although they are in the northern hemisphere, it is a desert and it is super hot. So we went in February and we did even have some days that were in the 90 degrees. So it was a very hot time, but it was their coolest time of the year. So I did some journaling here for the travel home on the other side of this tag. Then I printed, this is just a picture of a US passport that I grabbed like the cover of the front from Google Images, and I put another boarding pass on the back. I thought that'd just be a cute little addition in here. Here is a tag this is talking about our small flight between Doha and Dubai in the middle of our trip. And so I printed out some journaling here. I kind of messed up this one and printed it too wide, but I made it work. And I put this plastic airplane on here, which is from a much older Ellie Edwards kit. Maybe it was from like the Go Story kit. And then I have one last tag here with a picture of the airport in Doha because their airport is really pretty. Okay, so then I moved into Doha. And so this is somewhere where I had a formula. For the beginning of each city, I created a spread that looks similar to this with a large blown up photo from that location. I printed these letters that were using the digital stamp from Ellie Edwards that matched the 2022 travel collection from her. I believe it's 2022. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But I used the digital stamp and I added the colors of the kit to make it fit. And then these were from, I want to say maybe a December daily, but I just added the dates that we were in that city on the cover, and you will see a similar spread for each of the cities. So Doha is where we went first. On the back here, I did another pocket, and this was documenting our hotel room. And so I just added a coaster from the hotel and put some journaling on the back about the hotel. And then I saved our room key. So I put that in there as well. I think I forgot to document the hotel in Dubai, but that's okay. I don't think it was anything special. So here's another piece of my formula. Starting each day, I created one of these tags, and these are just large shipping tags. They are, I think, 4 inches by 8 inches. And I got them on Amazon. And I stamped out the location and the day and put the date. And then I made these in Photoshop. I used some digital stamps for these different icons. And essentially I wanted to document where we got our 3 meals for the day, how many steps and miles I walked, the weather, wherever we were, and then a quick summary of the itinerary. And I decided to do this because that way, as I'm putting the spread together, I didn't have to worry about telling the story of what we were doing. And I could just add words if I felt like it and if it fit the spread. For this journaling, or for this title, I have this alpha set, which was one of the Alphas Are Awesome from Ellie Edwards. And I also had the matching number set. And it bothers me that the numbers are not the exact same size. They're slightly bigger, but I made it work. And I use these for all of my large titles in the album to kind of have a cohesiveness throughout the spread. On the back of each of these tags, I added my outfit photo for the day. I think there was like one or two where I used a different photo than the official outfit photo, but they were a photo showing what I wore for the day. If you follow me on Instagram, when I travel, I share a lot of what I do during the day on my Instagram stories, and I always start the day with my outfit of the day photo, just kind of as a like bookmark to say this is the beginning of the day, and it's kind of fun. So here I started with this spread, and so you can see this is where I'm moving away from having a formula. So within each day, I just told the story of the day by documenting with the photos and everything in the ephemera and everything I had, and using the products to have fun. So here I just created this fun page. It was a pattern paper. A lot of this is on there, and I just built it on top of it. And that was from that Pink Fresh Studio collection. A full page photo. I did use some divided page protectors in here. Not that many, but it's a good way to get in some additional photos as you're documenting. And then I, again, am adding in pattern papers just to kind of break it up so it's not solid photos, and I'm creating like mini spreads. On a lot of these spreads, I used this alpha stamp set again, and I stamped on vellum, and then I stitched that down, and then I used these label stickers to add some additional text, and this is just something I kind of used throughout the album to tie it together. So even though it wasn't a formula, it was kind of something in my toolbox that I could go back to. Again, using that same alpha to label the Souk Waqif, which is the market. Adding in more photos. And then I added in some ephemera here. Whenever I have a chance to, I want to add ephemera and flip ups and stuff. So here's a picture of me going onto the metro. And then here is the metro map. And I put these little geotag stickers of the different locations of where we went while we were here. So you could kind of see those locations, or actually on this day is where we went on this day. We actually did go up here too. And then I really liked the photo of just like to see what the metro looks like inside. It's super, super nice and super clean. We went to the National Library, which was gorgeous. And I added in some smaller inserts just to get some additional photos. Adding in pattern paper just to kind of have a breaking place and use some of my products. I have a Metro card in here and then a business card. And that's the end of day 1. Doha day 2, again, following the same formula. And starting with a kind of a traditional layout. So I feel like throughout this album, I kind of did a lot of traditional scrapbook pages to just kind of have fun with the products and find different ways to document what happened. Here was another large photo, and this wander was one of the pattern papers from the collection from 2022 that I had. So I wanted to add that on here. And then again, using the same formula to add a title. This is probably one of my favorite photos from Doha, so I wanted to blow it up. More divided page protectors. More of the same formula for titles. Adding in some smaller pages. So this is just a 7x7 square rather than 7x8 1/4, just to have a little bit of a mix up. I really like the look of like the different layered size pages. Here's Doha day 3. We started this day out by the pool. Like I said, it's very hot there. It wasn't as hot as we were hoping in Doha, but it got really hot when we were in Dubai. But it was still warm enough to sit out by the pool. Going back to the souk for lunch. And then this was the placemat. I took the placemat from from the restaurant so that I could use it as a base. And then here I used some pattern paper frames to build on top of this photo. I really enjoy how this one came out. And then you can see it's part of this same pattern paper that I used for this spread here to include more photos. And I added in these photos back to back of us in front of the skyline. Wrapping up that day. I did not plan very well, and I should have wrapped that day up on this side because I needed to go into the next city, which is Dubai. So what I did was I added in a piece of pattern paper and just like put a title that we were headed to the United Arab Emirates. And the stamping is really faint here because I was trying to figure out why, and I realized I was using not my current stamp pad, I was using like an old one. So it is what it is. I added a sticker to kind of say we're going that way. And then going into Dubai. So here is my title spread for Dubai. This photo I didn't love that much, but I didn't have a good one to blow up horizontal for Dubai. This was from the Dubai frame, so you can kind of see the reflection of it here. But you can see the Burj Khalifa in the background and kind of the misty look of the desert. The day that we flew from Doha to Dubai, we had like a travel day. And because that flight is only like 45 minutes, so I just wanted to include kind of what we did once we got to Dubai that first day. And then going into Dubai day one, the same formula, my outfit. And the first thing we did was go to the Dubai frame. I love this photo of me, so I knew I wanted to blow it up. And then again, another kind of traditional layout and some pocket pages to document all of the photos of the Dubai frame, including some ephemera, and then adding in some smaller pages. Then we went to the Jumeirah Mosque. So I have my ticket in here. And then I made this kind of traditional layout to have a grid of photos. And I did some stamping on here. And then we went to the Museum of the Future. So adding in those photos. And then to Aya Universe, and ending off with the like map from there, and then a photo of us in like the rain room. Then for Dubai day two, so at this point I was realizing how chunky this album was getting, and so I had some days that we didn't have as much going on, so I did kind of shorten it a little to not take up so much space. And I did share a lot more about that in my process in those previous videos. So here's day two. We spent some time out by the pool. It was so hot this day. We went to the Palm Jumeirah, and then we went to see the Burj Khalifa at night and the fountain show. And then I didn't have an extra photo I wanted to include here, but I did want to include this pattern paper. And my original intention was to make this the end of my album, but I knew I was going to have a ton of photos on that last day in here. So I decided to just put it here. What I don't love is it ended up being this black and black, but that's okay. So then you can see I went to day three. What I want to point out though is, so Dubai day two is February 23rd. Dubai day three was February 25th. And that's because we did Abu Dhabi in between, but rather than breaking the flow, I decided to put Abu Dhabi at the end. And you can just tell by those dates and by the itinerary at the front. So day three, rather than using my morning outfit shot, I had this one that I took while we were in the mall because the bathroom was so gorgeous. It had this really pretty mirror area, and I thought that that was a nice photo to include instead. And you know, it's one last photo I had to find room for elsewhere. Then we went to the top of the Burj Khalifa. So I added these I want to remember hexagons from a pattern paper, and this is the bag from the gift shop. Again, using the same formula. I added my ticket with a photo on the back. Then I had this postcard, and I kind of forgot I had this. I added it in later. If I had remembered, I probably would have put a photo on the back, but at this point I don't want to go back because I already kind of put everything in that I wanted in here. Another divided page protector for some more photos and some more notes. And then this was really fun. So then after going to the top of the Burj Khalifa, we went to the Dubai Mall, which is the largest mall in the world, and it was so awesome. But I used the Dubai Mall map to add more in here. So I added it using a page attacher and added some stuff on the front. And then when you open it, here's a photo of the mall. And then you open it again, here's a photo of me in the mall. And then you open it even further, here's like the Chinatown. And I have a little tag here from something I bought and some notes from the mall. And then you can fold this back up and flip it over, and there's another photo of Chinatown in the mall on the back. Moving into Dubai day four. So this one I tried to keep super short because we really didn't do that much and I was running out of space. So I had a divided page protector with a few notes and photos, and that was kind of it for the photos. I wanted to put this in here because this beer, my boyfriend loves it, and he was super excited that the restaurant we found had it, because it's something he got in Japan, and so you can't really find it in the United States that often. And then there was this facts and feelings sheet that I decided to use for day 4 to kind of do some reflection on Dubai. We didn't love Dubai. We are still happy we went, but I wanted to kind of give some thoughts about that. And then moving into Abu Dhabi. So again, doing the same formula for the start of Abu Dhabi with a large blown up photo from Abu Dhabi, which there were some gorgeous photos from Abu Dhabi. So I had a really hard time narrowing it down because you can see at this point, the album is so full, but I wanted to fit this in. And we only had the one day, so I just had the one date. Here was kind of the start of our day trip to Abu Dhabi and some of the smaller like sites we saw in the beginning of the day. And then my tag and my outfit. Rather than doing an outfit photo, I did a photo of me in front of the mosque because I did have an outfit photo in front of a mirror in the morning. But this way you could see my outfit and I got this mosque photo in, so it was one less photo I had to include elsewhere. Then I added in the flyer from the, the Presidential Palace, which was, so there were kind of two really big stops this day, the Presidential Palace and the Grand Mosque that had a ton of photos, and then a few other like little things. So the Presidential Palace was first, and I had the flyer. And then I have this photo of us in front of it, which was super cute. I love that photo. And then here I wanted to include more photos. So I had these like plastic film strips in my stash. So I used that to add in some more photos and the location. And then here I have a photo of me inside the Presidential Palace. And then I turned this pattern paper into a flip out by just cutting it. And I put a photo of the front of the Presidential Palace on here. And this was super fun. I'm so happy that it came out like the right angle. I was worried it wasn't gonna trim right, but I essentially just measured this distance and then I measured here and then knew it would be a straight line in between. Then on the back, I have a photo of us in front of the mosque because next we went there. So we stopped in between for lunch. And so I added some photo of our lunch and the business card and then some journaling kind of just about the day on this tag. And then some photos from the mosque. And then I wanted to kind of finish it off with a few additional mosque photos. So I added in this page and then this one with this pattern paper that I am obsessed with and have been hoarding for so long, but I wanted to use it. So I fit it in here with these final photos of the mosque and then ending the album with this photo, which was one of my favorites from the mosque. And it was just a fun image. So that wrapped up this trip. It was a epic adventure and it took a while to document it, but I'm so happy to have this one done. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching my process to put this one together and the finished result. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.